Welcome into a brand new Patriots Hub podcast. Alex, Barth, Matt Dolloff back with our part 2 Patriots training camp preview for 2025 and better audio. We're sorry about that little issue with the last episode, but this should sound loud and clear. And we're getting the better audio for what I think is the better half of the ball for the Patriots. We're going to be talking defense. If you missed our offensive preview, you can find that Patriots Hub podcast or on the Sports Hub YouTube channel, wherever you get your podcasts. We have that there. We went through offense, position by position in the first episode. It was about 45, 50 minutes. We didn't want to do a 2-hour podcast. That felt like a tough sell. So that's why these are split up, but it's going to be the same general idea. We're going to go through position by position. It's a training camp preview, not a full season preview. So we'll get to some of that stuff, but really what we're looking for in camp from each group, position by position. I would assume, give me an over under the percentage of people who watched this, who also watched the first one.
Over under for the percentage?
Like, it's got to be high 90s, right? I don't think I need to explain this whole exercise again.
No. I think if you went through the whole offense one, you're probably
right. You know how this works.
Yeah.
So,
I think if you're willing to get through that entire podcast, you can get through this one for sure.
So let's get right into it here. Defensive line, and I'll just remind everybody who the team has at each position as we get started. Defensive line: Christian Barmore, Joshua Farmer, and I'm just reading these in alphabetical order. Christian Barmore, Joshua Farmer, Isaiah Aiton, Truman Jones, Jeremiah Farms, Javari Ritzy, Jaquelin Roy, Kyrus Tonga, Milton Williams on the defensive line. We're going to do an edge section if it feels like some people maybe got left out of there. That's the defensive line group. Biggest thing I'm looking for, and this is something I talked about this in the offensive show, Matt, that I'm going to be pretty slow playing it on rushing judgments with the offensive line, because I think in non-padded practices, you can only learn so much. And I just don't weigh that nearly close to what I weigh those reps in a padded practice. So the same will apply to the defensive line here. But the biggest thing for me, and I talked about this on the radio last night, Milton Williams, I still like the signing because I think him and Barmore in the middle as a pass rush is going to be a dynamic duo. I think there's going to be opportunities there. But Milton Williams was only a pass rusher in Philly. He never played more than 50% of the snaps. He comes here as the highest paid player in the history of the organization. There is going to be, and Mike Vrabel has talked about this, and he's talked about this, there's more that comes with that. There is a greater expectation. He is going to be more of a down-to-down player, probably looking somewhere 70% usage rate, 75 is where starting defensive tackles usually play, and that really means playing more against the run. He was used as a pass-specific player in Philly, so it's a big differentiator for this defense. I do worry about them a little bit against the run. They did get smaller. Now, there's benefits that come with that, certainly. But this is a team that struggled to stop the run last year. We all remember that Jacksonville game right in London. And if Milton Williams is going to struggle against the run, he's a guy that's going to need to be out there. It kind of becomes a lot tougher to put that all together. So once they throw the pads on, I'm going to be very interested in watching Milton Williams as a run defender. I'm not saying he can't do it. I just don't know, because they didn't have him do it in Philly. It's not like he did it in Philly and he was bad. That defensive line is so deep with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and all those guys that they didn't have to have him do it. We're going to get our first look at him doing that regularly on a down-to-down basis.
Yeah, and it feels like they might have to use him against the run just based on the personnel that they have. Like, I know
it's not a big group.
I know Kyrus Tonga's here. He's one of the only like big nose tackle, run-stopping type of
lineman. But he's a run-specific player. He's not going to be on the field a lot.
But I'm saying, like, that's the one guy they have that's like
right.
A clear, like, big run-stuffing type of defensive lineman. Everyone else is either, a pure pass rusher, or they're going to play aggressively, or they might not be, suited to play against the run for a number of different reasons. And so, yeah, the way Milton Williams is going to be used is going to be interesting to see. You got to think, like, with the money he's making, they're going to force him to be used more. But, like, if he can't stop the run, then he can't stop the run. Like, I feel like you're going to have to, use him, put him in position to succeed, so to speak. So, yeah, I'm interested to see how everyone's deployed. Keon White's still here. I feel like he can have a big year. Because
I was going to include him with the edge group, but, yeah, he probably fits.
I mean, I asked you before, like, we're doing defensive tackles basically, and then the edge guys.
We can include Keon White here because it's probably wrong to include him with the edge. He'll play on the interior a little bit.
But but Barmore, Williams, Tonga, Farms, and Roy and Aiton is basically what we're looking at, right?
Javari Ritzy,
but I think he's a long shot to make the team.
Basically that. Did you say Farmer?
I did say Farmer.
Farmer had a good spring. Farmer had like a sneaky good spring. One thing that was impressive, he was able to get his hands up, bat down a lot of passes. Again, we'll see if that continues when the pads come on. He could be another guy. It's weird. He's built I don't know if you have his height and weight on there.
No.
Or if you can pull that up. He's built more like one of these quicker interior defensive tackles, but he was a better run player at Florida State. So maybe that's where the run defense comes from.
Yeah, and this is a guy that they traded up to get. And I know that was late in the 4th round. This isn't like, trading up in the first round necessarily.
They moved up to get him.
But they moved up. This is a guy they targeted and they wanted, and he does feel like he can be a well-rounded player. And so, like, I feel Farmer is in, and he could be, a surprising big contributor in terms
6'3",
of
310, by the way.
Yeah, so like that's pretty good, interior lineman size. That's not small by any means. So yeah, like I'm looking for him to, make maybe a surprising amount of impact for a rookie 4th round pick. And Milton Williams, it feels like he's going to make most of his impact as a pass rusher. We know what Barmore is capable of as a pass rusher. And yeah, look, I'm worried about them against the run too. And I guess it's maybe for different reasons than last year. Like last year, they were just soft. They were soft and poorly coached. This year, I think they're going to be well coached. I think they have good, experienced defensive coaches. The defensive coordinator, Terrell Williams, is a longtime defensive line coach. So I think the defensive line is going to be well coached, versatile. They're going to be used in a number of different ways. They're going to have a number of different alignments. I think that's going to be tough on opposing offenses. And I think even against the run, like it's going to be tough to tell where do they want to run, where do they want to run the ball. And so opposing offenses and quarterbacks and coordinators are going to really have to be on their P's and Q's, just figuring out their game plan against this defense. So that's why I feel good about them, even against the run. But the reason I'd be concerned about them against the run, yes, the size, but small, but the aggressiveness. Like we saw a lot of, vacating the edge and just vacating gaps. We might see more of that because guys are just trying to one gap it and get to the quarterback. And there might be plays where guys try to get to the quarterback, but it's a draw, it's a handoff, it's some kind of, misdirection. And so it's going to be interesting to see how offenses compete against that. And it might only be when we see a good, smart quarterback or a good, smart offensive coordinator to really take advantage of that. But the way they play, like I'm really confident they're going to get after quarterbacks. I think they're going to have a good pass rush. They're going to have a good third down defense between the pass rush and the coverage, which we'll get to later. But yeah, it's going to be those early downs. Like, can they keep teams to second long and third and long? Like, I think that's going to be key to sort of revving up that pass rush. If they give up, if they get sliced up for 10-yard runs because they're vacating gaps again, like that's going to be a concern, and it's going to really limit their potential. So that's going to be something to watch.
Put a pin in that on the run stuff because we'll get to that more when we get to the linebackers. One more thing on Farmer, you said like he could be a surprise breakout. I think of all the defensive rookies, right? They went heavy defense on day 3 of the draft. You want them all to be good. I think if there's one guy, who could make it like pound for pound, right? Let's say each one had a kind of surprise breakout, became like a Pop Douglas sort of player, right? Day 3 pick that became a starter. I think Farmer could probably make the biggest impact. Maybe Swinson, they are, but they have Swinson long-term, I guess, would be the right answer there. And we'll get to the edge guys in a second. But I think just for 2025, Farmer being a plus run defender would really change the way this group looks and would really give them a lot more opportunity.
And like I said, like that, and that versatility could give them a guy that they could just keep on the field. Like he could be a surprising 3-down player, and not necessarily that he's going to be a huge impact on all downs, but he's a guy that you can keep out there. I think that's going to be key for the personnel and just keeping the opposing offense on their toes, keeping them guessing of what they're going to do.
It also allows you now, maybe you could play Christian Barmore on the end, which they've done at times where he's been effective, and or you play Milton Williams on the end. It would allow you to get really creative. Edge guys, we talked about Keon White there. We also have Caleb on, Chase on, Anthony Jennings, Harold Landry, Braden Swinson. Is that it? Am I missing somebody?
Elijah Ponder,
thank you. I think that's it. And then Tavai, maybe. Like, he's played on the edge. He's played on
Truman Jones.
I think we had him with the defensive line, but yeah, he's an edge guy.
Okay.
So, biggest thing from that group for you?
Well, Keon White.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
fair enough.
This is an aggressive player, and like last year, I mean, even when he was one of those guys that was just leaving the edge just unblocked, and like guys running right around him. Like, this is a guy that you can run on because you can take advantage of his aggressive style. And even when he was like called on, he's like, well, I'm not going to be as dominant if I'm being careful out there. He wants to get after the quarterback.
Yeah.
Vrabel's going to want his guys to get after the quarterback. And so, like, this feels like a match, Vrabel and Keon White. And so I'm very interested to see how he performs. We know he's got the power. We know he's got the athletic ability to, really make an impact as an edge rusher. And I feel like it hasn't been as consistent as he wanted. He was out to a hot start last year, just we know the potential is there. I want to see him do it for 17 games. I feel really good about his chances there.
I mean, it feels like a great system fit for him. It feels like they're going to let him do exactly what he wants to do. And, he's had the flashes, like you said, the last couple of years, but there hasn't been consistency. And the scheme last year was definitely fighting him. And I think him and the coaching staff were not on the same page. And that can explain some of the inconsistency last year. This year, if he doesn't produce this year, he just might not be the guy. And I think he will produce. And I think he will have a good season. But this is, I mean, as much as we've talked about some of these guys, and we talked about this in the offensive podcast, we've talked about this during the offseason, like it might be a little bit steeper of a hill for some of the players who don't have connections to this coaching staff, because it seems like they want to turn the roster over. Keon White might as well have been picked by this coaching staff based on his mentality, his mental approach, the way he plays. Like he just feels like a perfect fit for this system.
That I agree with everything you just said. The only thing is that it doesn't feel like Keon White's particularly happy with New England. I don't know that he loves it up here.
So maybe the region, like that's different, but I think he's going to really like Vrabel in this staff.
Absolutely. But like the point I'm making here is that this might be a de facto kind of contract year for him, where if he puts it together for 17 games and he picks up the system and all that, and he really gets after the quarterback, double-digit sacks, that kind of season,
for a trade,
he'll be extension eligible.
Yeah,
and he could get a lot of value for him in a potential off-season trade. Say he wants to go back, he wants to go play for the Falcons or something. Like I feel like that could be something you could facilitate if he has a big year here. So that I'm watching for him as like almost like a contract year, even though it's only his third season.
Also, if he gets rolling, maybe winning cures all.
Yeah.
Maybe suddenly he likes it here a little bit.
Yeah.
If he gets rolling. So
he said, didn't he say, I got a real coach now?
Yeah.
When he talked after a minicamp practice, that was rough.
You're not paraphrasing that much. You're paraphrasing a little bit, but really not that much. I'm also kind of interested in Caleb on Chason. Former first round pick, came on strong at the end of last year. He's never had more than 5 sacks in a season. So it's all potential, but this is a coaching staff that's gotten a lot out of players kind of fitting this mold. Him, White, and Landry as a rush group, and then we'll see where Anthony Jennings fits in. We can get to him in a second. Like, it's not a bad group. I feel kind of the same about the pass rush. I actually did this exercise last night on the radio, Matt. I kind of feel the same about the pass rush as I do about the wide receivers. And maybe the overall talent level is a little bit higher, but it's a lot of complementary guys. No guy who's dictating the coverage, who's dictating the blocking scheme, right? You don't have that guy that the Tuesday morning player, the other team's game plan for.
Maybe Keon White turns into that guy. Otherwise, you're looking at a complementary group.
Well, to do the exercise, I'll tell you what I had last night. You tell me what you think. So Stephon Diggs and Harold Landry, kind of view them similarly, have played at a very high level. Diggs has done so more recently than Landry, but he's coming off the injury. So it's not exactly apples to apples, but have played at a very high level, are a little bit older. If they get back to that level, you're in great shape. If they don't, they're still going to be a good player, but they're not that ace dictating guy. Keon White, Pop Douglas. We've seen tremendous flashes. Injuries have kind of been a problem. Fit was maybe an issue more last year, but feels like there's a pretty significant ceiling there for those two. Caleb on Chason, Mac Hollins. These guys have proven that they're solid NFL players. Maybe the ceiling isn't massive, but can you tap into something and have them be like, can you get something out of them where they're going to be a productive player? Mac Hollins has the 600-yard season he had under Josh McDaniels. Caleb on Chason had his 1 year last year where he sort of broke out. Kyle Williams, Braden Swinson. That one's kind of obvious. I don't remember who my comp was for. Anthony Jennings was Kendrick Bourne. Good player.
Been here a while.
Has shown he can make plays. Has been here a while, but is he kind of just schemed out in terms of what they're going to do? I forget who my Kayshon Boutte comp was. Who else is there from that group? Well, I'm running out of guys.
Sean Boutte. Did you put Barmore in there yet?
No, because it was just edge. So that was the other part of this comparison is, well, what about Barmore? What about the interior rush? The interior rush is good, and it's probably the best part of their rush, but it's not the same schematically when you have that elite outside rusher. Just like if your tight end is your best pass catcher, there's value there, but it's just not the same as having the elite receiver. So Christian Barmore, in this case, would be Hunter Henry.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So
no, I think to the point that you're just making, that on to bring it back to Caleb on Chason, like the reason I feel pretty good about him is that there's just already so much to account for on that defense. I think you're going to have to account for Christian Barmore for sure. You're going to have to account for Milton Williams on the interior. You're going to have to block Keon White on the edge. like that's going to open up opportunities for K'Lavon Chaisson. Like there might be games where K'Lavon Chaisson, chips in here and there with a big sack or whatever, rushes the quarterback into an errant throw on a key third down, because they schemed it up and they protected against pretty much everybody else. But here comes Chaisson because you had to account for everybody else. Like that's why I feel good about Chaisson. And you mentioned Landry too. Landry is kind of like a linchpin type of figure for this defense, where on paper it looks like a 3-4.
Yeah.
But when they get out on the field, it looks more like a 4-3, because Harold Landry is going to be that sort of undersized edge guy. He's going to be the guy that can set the edge against the run. Like he's not going to vacate the edge. He's going to be responsible, and he can still get after the quarterback from time to time. So like he's going to be good for the experience and the versatility. Like he's going to be key, sort of like a glue that holds the defense together.
Yeah, I agree with that. Linebackers. I want to get to Anthony Jennings, actually. So Jennings didn't get a ton of run with the ones in the spring. You mentioned Landry being that edge setter against the run. That's been Jennings in the past. He's not the sort of athletic backside linebacker that's played in this system. So it's tough to find the role for him. But you could also argue he's probably one of their 10 best defensive players because he's just good. I hope they find a role for him, because I don't think this team can afford to move on from good players like that. I don't know what that would be. Maybe you have him play off the ball a little bit, which he did some at Alabama. Maybe he just plays on obvious rushing downs with Landry and you set the edge on the backside too. I hope they find a role for him. That was a good player.
Yeah, and I feel he feels like a culture fit for what Vrabel wants. I think that's a big reason why he's still here, and he wasn't flushed out like so many other guys. Not that he's ever been a team captain or anything like that, but yeah, like I think he's a reasonably well-rounded player, better edge setter than pass rusher, but he's not a guy that you have to take him off the field in certain situations. I think you can comfortably put him on the edge, and he at least won't be like a negative when you put him out there. And I just love his competitiveness. I love the mentality that he brings. And so that's a guy that I would love to, keep on the roster, even if he's like a backup situational type of player. But yeah, like I hope there's a spot for him.
Linebackers: Christian Ellis, Jack Gibbons, Marte Mapu. We are counting him with the linebackers now. Monty Rice, Cam Riley, Robert Spillane, Jelani Tavai. I'm going to be watching. So first of all, let's pick up where we left off earlier. You were talking about the run and are they going to struggle more against the run because the front's going to be more aggressive? The way this defense works is those linebackers. So in the old defense, right, the defensive linemen kind of act like the offensive linemen. They're clearing the offensive line out so the linebackers can come downhill and make plays. What this defense is, and this is an oversimplification, but basically you have the defensive line penetrating and being the aggressors and trying to make the plays themselves, with the linebackers being used as more of a cleanup crew behind them.
They're the safety net, yeah.
Right. So you prioritize athleticism there so they can cover more ground and get there when plays break through. So that's Spillane's role. We'll see how he fits in there, who's going to be behind him. They gave a good amount of money to Christian Ellis. I think he's probably more of a third down coverage linebacker. Jack Gibbons will be in the mix, and maybe Marte Mapu. Like this is the kind of linebacker that Marte Mapu was in college. And he's gone from trying to be a safety to all this other stuff. And now it seems like he's back at linebacker. That's not to say he's going to make the team, but it feels like he's going to have as good a chance as he's had in his time in New England to earn a contributing role on defense and not just special teams.
Yeah, Mapu's a guy that's like never really, excelled at anything in particular. He's had trouble staying healthy and all that. But I feel like he's got enough versatility and enough athletic ability to really compete with a guy like Christian Ellis, Jack Gibbons, for roles on the defense. And yeah, Spillane is the one to watch. He's their first free agent signing. He got paid, and he's got a nose for the ball, and he's really emerged as a really versatile all-around type of inside linebacker. He's obviously mostly like a tackler, like he can close on you and tackle you, a ball carrier, but he's made plays in the passing game too, and I feel like he's a guy that could drop back in coverage on certain plays. The linebacker spot is going to be where I think they could probably be exploited. It might be where they have to be exploited, and like you were saying, like the defensive line gets after it, and the linebackers are the cleanup crew. Well, if you have a smart quarterback who sees what's going on out there and he can get off a quick pass, a quick dump off to a guy, and it's like you try to make the linebacker miss like that. I think that's where an opposing offense could take advantage, but that's where Spillane's going to have to come in and really close and actually execute tackles on plays like that.
And in passing situations specifically, I think Ellis will be a part of that too. What happens with Jelani Tavai?
See, it's funny. The further away we get from that controversy that he had late last season, the less it matters. I feel like Like, I know, like, you might see his picture on Twitter or whatever, and then everybody's like, oh, not this guy again.
Well, remember, Vrabel gave that introductory press conference and said, we're going to remove entitlement from our football team. They've cut like 5 captains, but Tavai's still here. Tavai was the guy. Everybody thought that was a direct shot at Jelani Tavai.
Yeah.
Here's where I think Tavai could factor in. So he can't be a full-time off-ball linebacker. That's what he had to do that last year because of injuries, and he doesn't do that. Where he's been at his best here is being a strong side edge setter.
Yeah, edge guy.
But they already have a couple guys who can do that. Landry, Jennings, if he makes the team. So maybe it's Tavai and Jennings competing. The other thing he could do, they've gotten much smaller linebacker. And that's because they want the quickness, right, to cover the ground. But there are still going to be times I think you want a 250-pound linebacker to come downhill and fill a gap. It's not going to be a lot, but maybe 3 or 4 times a game.
They play the Ravens this year. What do they do with Derrick Henry?
Right.
You know?
Does he stay in a mainly special teams role and then, third and short, all right, they're coming out in 22 personnel. We're going to put Tavai on the field, have him try to diagnose and come downhill and fill a gap. So
no, we got Spillane, Ellis.
He's got 25 pounds on those guys.
Maybe Pop Douglas can play a little linebacker.
So some people hear that and say, why not have Juwan Bentley do that? I think that's a fair question. My guess to the reasoning would be Juwan Bentley is a team captain. He's a decorated player. He's a 80-90% usage rate guy. It's hard to now ask that guy to only play 30% of the time.
Right.
It's like you just don't do that. Tavai, you can be like, hey, we're cutting your role by 30%. And if he says no, he's going to get cut.
He's like, well, yeah, I'm Jelani Tavai, so I guess I accept that.
Especially after everything that happened last year. All right, you want to earn your stay and get people back on your side. This is how you're going to have to do it. You're going to do this for the team. So that to me is probably Tavai's path to the roster. Now, if they don't want that guy, that opens up the door for Marte Mapu because you're just adding more depth to those speedy, athletic east to west off ball linebackers. That opens the door to Marte Mapu, even maybe Monty Rice or Cam Riley, who both kind of made a play or two here or there in the spring.
Yeah, I feel like those last guys are going to be practice squad realistically, but yeah, Tavai and Jennings is what I'm looking at.
I will say Rice played for Vrabel in Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
And he has some special teams experience. So,
okay. So he could be a 53rd guy.
Right. If he's your last linebacker and he's going to play on special teams and he's going to kind of help you establish the culture, maybe if it's him or Mapu for that last linebacker spot and Mapu's dealing with an injury and Monty Rice starts making some plays, like that could become a conversation.
Well, that's almost even more to the point I'm going to make here is that I just look, who do you got behind Landry for that edge setting, consistent down linebacker?
It's probably Jennings or Tavai.
Jennings and Tavai feels like the competition. I just don't see them keeping both. I feel like they might see a path to the roster, and that's why they're keeping Tavai around and Jennings for that matter. But I feel like those two guys are competing for a spot. So that's going to be something I'm going to watch. How are those guys being used? Who's with the starters?
Yeah.
Who's the next one in after Landry? Like, that's going to be something to watch.
Good on linebackers?
Yes.
Cornerbacks, again, just going alphabetically. Alex Austin, Miles Battle, Isaiah Bolden, Brandon Crossley, Carlton Davis, Marcellus Dial. This is another crowded. They need guys to cover all those receivers. Carlton Davis, DJ James, Marcus Jones, Kobe Minor, and that's it. A lot of safeties late there alphabetically. Biggest thing I'm watching, I'm curious how they're going to use Alex Austin. So I think the guys on the outside are studs. I said this during free agency, and I'm standing by it. Carlton Davis, low-key, I think, is the best signing they made for their defense and the best signing they made for their pass rush. Like, Landry and Chason are good players, but there's just going to be so many coverage sacks this year, or there should be. Between Gonzalez and Davis, both those guys are lockdown corners. Marcus Jones is going to be the main guy in the slot, but it does sound like they might want to go bigger slot, so that's Alex Austin. He's also probably your third boundary corner. He could sneaky have a lot of different responsibilities this year, even if he's not on the field a lot. He could be a guy that wears a lot of hats. I've always been a fan of his. He's a physical player. He's an instinctive player. I'm kind of interested. I like this challenge for him. I think he could be somebody that could be up to it. I think he's got the right mindset for this, where essentially, hey, you're going to be the backup at 2 different positions, and he's probably going to play a lot on special teams as well. He's going to have a lot on his plate. But I'm excited to see how he handles it. So I'll be interested to watch Alex Austin. He had that great spring last year. Solid camp, and then he got hurt early in the season. It just never felt like he got back to 100%. Seems healthy now. I want to see if he can tap into some of that potential.
Sure. Yeah, no, I always liked Alex Austin too, and he feels like the number 3 outside corner to me.
Yeah.
But if they want to try to use him as a bigger inside corner, I feel like he's got, the athletic profile that he could maybe pull it off.
Yeah.
Isaiah Bolden is the other guy I want to watch as far as playing inside as that big inside corner, a guy that, he can have a full training camp. You know, he obviously had that scary injury a couple years ago. Another guy that's curiously still here, about like the list of guys we've gone over, like Jennings and Tabai. And
the other thing I'm interested to see with him, we've been wondering for 2 years why they're not having him return kicks. He was a great kick returner in college, and then we saw in the spring he got a couple kick return reps. So I'm interested to see him there, like returning kicks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like special teams is the whole thing is going to be interesting to watch how they use special teams. Do they have a lot of guys that are specifically just special teams dedicated, or do they use a lot of offensive and defensive guys in that third phase? I mean, that's something we can look at later. But yeah, like obviously Gonzalez, like he should be an all-pro candidate this year. There's not much really to say about him.
He was an all-pro last year. So this is my thing on Gonzalez.
First team is what I'm saying. He should be in the lead. He should be a leading candidate to be that first team all-pro.
So if he takes a step forward, what does that look like? Because he was a top 5 corner in football last year.
Yeah.
If he takes another step, you know, it becomes him and Surtain for the best corner in the league.
Yeah, like I think it should be that kind of conversation with Gonzalez. And Davis he might be in the conversation for best number 2 outside corner in the league, right? I mean, I don't have all the depth charts in front of me.
It's one of the best
now.
duos. He's a top 20, top 15 corner at least at this point in his career. So
yeah, like he's a sneaky good free agent signing because he's a good player. You know what I mean? Like people don't talk about him that much because of the pass rush and digs and all that.
I love the way he plays, and we're not going to get to see it as much in camp because he's
physical,
very nice guy,
intense.
Mean SOB on the field.
Yeah,
he beats the crap out of you all the way through the route. Great at the catch point. He'll come up and play in the run game. Again, you're not going to see this in camp because they can't hit, but like, you know, because we all here in New England, we watch those Brady teams relatively closely. Outside of Brady, Carlton Davis might have been my favorite player to watch on those Bucs teams. There's a couple. Okay. I love watching Mike Evans. I forgot Gronk was there. Obviously Gronk's up there, but like Carlton Davis is on the short list of my favorite players to watch on those Bucs teams. He plays corner the way I love watching guys play corner.
Yeah, and look, the defense overall, like obviously we have our share of concerns, but I just think between the speed, the physicality, the intensity, and the fact that they're going to be well coached, they're going to be so hard to play against. And I think it's going to come down to a good, talented, smart offense with good personnel that has a good game plan and a good scheme and can change plays at the line and come up with a perfect game plan and execute it. Like that's what it's going to take. I don't think they're going to get beat by pure speed or pure ability. Like I think they're going to be so hard to play.
I'll be honest,
from the front end to the back end because of a guy like Davis.
I have my concerns about the front. Outside of health things, I don't know how many concerns I really have about the secondary. This feels like as complete a group as they've had since that, you know, McCourty, Harmon, Chung, Gilmore, Butler group. And I don't think they're as good as that group was, but it's pretty freaking complete. Health concerns, and what I mean by that, we'll get to safety in a second, if Duggar and Peppers get back into form. So that's not an insignificant concern. But like if those guys are fully healthy, the talent in the secondary is fantastic. And they'll keep 1 or 2 more corners beyond the guys we talked about. Marcellus Dial is one of those guys who was a core special teamer last year. So does that get him on the roster?
Marcus Jones, I want to say real quick, he felt like the third man in on a lot of team drills during spring workouts.
Yeah.
And the number 1 inside corner for sure, but just the third man in, like in general.
Yeah.
And so he's been sort of up and down as a corner. But I think with his return value, his punt return ability, you know, I see him making the team, but it's going to be interesting to see how much he's used at cornerback specifically.
So he's a guy, I've said this, people who say he could get cut this year because they maybe want something different stylistically. He's a good football player. They're not going to cut good football players. Are they going to extend him when his contract ends after this year? I don't know. Maybe not, but he's going to be here this year and he's going to make plays for them. And yeah, like I was saying, and then it'll be Alex Austin, and we'll see if it's, you know, Isaiah Bolden, Marcellus Dial, DJ James, some of the UDFAs battling for that last spot. Safeties. We have Kyle Duggar, Marcus Epps, Jalen Hawkins, Josh Minkins, Jabril Peppers, Del Pettis, Jordan Polk, Brandon Schooler, Craig Woodson. I think I got everybody. I said it before. The big thing I'm watching is Jabril Peppers fully healthy. Is Kyle Duggar fully healthy? Neither one of them was fully healthy last year. Duggar obviously missed time because he had the legal issue as well. But before that, he was hurt. When he came back, he was hurt. So I get they both had down years last year. Neither one of those guys, I think, was representative of the player they can be. If they're both fully healthy, you're cooking with gas. Craig Woodson had a good spring. And then, you know, who's the true free safety? Does Jalen Hawkins got a ton of run in the spring? Does Marcus Epps factor in more? Is he going to be full go? He was limited in the spring coming off an ACL. Where does Del Pettis factor in after a good rookie season? Like, there's some questions about the depth. But if Peppers and Doug are fully healthy, and then Woodson's spring wasn't a fluke, and he kind of is that kind of player, they're more than set at safety.
Yeah, again, like, and this again to what we're saying about the Vrabel defense and their identity, fast and physical. Like that's what Duggar and Peppers both bring to the table in different ways. But like, yeah, Peppers to me is a guy that embodies everything Vrabel wants, and that's another reason why he's still here, even though he had the legal trouble last year. I know he was exonerated and all that, and that's sort of in the past. But like, those are their guys. If those guys are healthy, those are their top two safeties.
We'll see in camp if they're out. Like Duggar didn't participate at all in the spring.
Duggar's a guy that gets banged up a little bit. That's what it feels like. He plays, so physical and so fast that, like, I guess he's just inevitably going to get banged up a little bit.
Credit to him. He usually plays through it, but he's just not 100% when he's playing through it.
Right. Exactly. And then the deep safety thing is that something we've been talking about, sprinkled throughout the offseason. How are they going to address that spot? It was mostly Hawkins in the spring workouts. And I know that like we didn't have a lot of Marcus Epps out there.
Yeah.
So Marcus Epps, I feel like he could be in the lead once he's healthy. So we'll see that could be a competition to watch, is Hawkins and Epps for that deep, true free safety role, which is something they've really lacked since Devin McCourty.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying either of these guys are going to be Devin McCourty, but
can they be Duron Harmon?
Can they be that role? Yes. Can they be Duron, the clean it up at the back end there?
The battle between Epps and Hawkins will be interesting. Who gets, because they are going to need a deep safety on the field sometimes. Yeah. And special teams will play a role in that too, obviously. But
although I wonder about the league, Bart, sorry to cut you off, but like, I feel like the big play thing might be sort of taking a step back because teams have adjusted so much. Well, like, I'm wondering, we saw so much running offense last year. Like, I don't know if that's going to keep going in that direction, but like, our team's going to march down the field a little more short to intermediate stuff, because teams have just been so focused on taking away the big plays.
Well, I think part of the reason that the offensive adjusted is there's really good safety talent in the league right now, and a good free safety can prevent it's the chicken or the egg,
about
right?
The Kyle Hamilton and Derwin James and those guys. Yeah.
It's the chicken or the egg. Do you not need a free safety because teams are taking less shots and so strategically you adjust, or is the free safety that so important because if you have that good safety, that's why these teams aren't taking that big play approach? So I don't know. I didn't like, it's chicken or the egg, but I'd rather have one and not need one than need one and not have one.
Right. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
If that makes sense. So the other interesting thing at safety, I do hope, as much as we rag on last year's coaching staff, and don't get me wrong, there was a lot that they didn't do right. There was a lot. The Longhorn package was a neat wrinkle. I enjoyed that.
Oh,
I would like to see.
I'm sending this to Felger.
I would like to see some version of that come back. Brendan Schooler was like low key their third best pass rusher last year.
I mean, like if you do like, if there's like a pass rush rating, he's like a 100%.
That was more about, he had some moves. He had some moves to get back there. That was more about the other guys they had or the guys they didn't have.
But I'd say like
anything else.
He's like the guy that like the receiver that throws one double pass for a touchdown. So he has a 158 passer rating.
I think there's something to be said for getting his athleticism on the defensive side of the ball in the right situation.
Yeah. Like he's not going to be a guy that plays every down or anything like that. He's not a regular safety, but can they mix in a package here and there? Like, give something, give the offense something to think about.
Good on safeties?
Absolutely.
Special teams. My thing to watch isn't even the kicker battle, just because I think Borgalis is comfortably in there.
That's their guy. Yep.
Just the whole operation. You have two rookies, and they had this a couple years ago. They had both the kicker and the punter was the rookie with the long snapper veteran. Now it's the kicker and long snapper are rookies with the punter veteran. It's Behringer's in his third year. Third year. So just how does that operation look? How are those guys gelling? You don't want too many growing pains there. It seemed fine in the spring. Off the top of my head, Ashby didn't have any bad snaps. There's maybe one bad hold, but it feels like they were kind of gelling. So that's what I'll be looking for with the kicking operation. We can get to the returners in a little bit.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I think I noted one kind of sloppy hold by Behringer at some point in the spring workout. But like that's not something we were watching too closely. But like I don't. Well, I'm not talking. Me. I wasn't watching it very closely. Barth is like running back and forth. You should see him at these practices once they start to line up the kicks.
Well, people do.
I have never seen anyone run. I watched Devin McCourty and Matthew Slater run down the field, but I never see anyone run faster than you running to the uprights to see the kicks and then note the whether they're good or bad. Well, and we have a whole system in place. We got you and we got Chris Price over there. We go to the signal and then you single, it's good or it's no good.
Don't forget Mike Reese, Brian Hines. People kind of figured out because we talked about it on the air, and then like people would kind of recognize when it was time to kick that we would go over there because it's in the crowd. in open, not in the spring, but when there's fans there for training camp. Now, they were kicking on the far goalposts in the spring, so we may not get that opportunity this year. Might be tougher, but that's what I'm looking for. The returner battles.
I really wish we could get that on video, though. It's too late in practice to record it.
You got to pay off one of the fans to shoot it.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else on the kickers?
No, I think Borgalis is the guy. He was more consistent. I know he might not have quite the leg that you would want in a kicker, but his consistency is what stands out. And so I think he's their guy.
The battle for the returners might actually be a little interesting because let's start here.
Who is the kick returner?
Well, I want to start with punt returner.
Okay.
Because the way McDaniels did it at the end, Edelman was too important to return punts full time. Remember that? So they'd have other guys do it. And then if it was like a big spot late in the game, they would put Julian Edelman back there. So, if Pop Douglas is in that role, does that make them hesitant with him? Marcus Jones obviously has had a ton of success. Is it going to be him? But are they going to take more of that approach with McDaniels back? Although I guess McDaniels wouldn't have a say on Marcus Jones. And then, kick returner feels pretty wide open. Marcus Jones did it at times last year, but it's kind of a different play. He's not as well suited for it. You want a guy with a little more size, because you're probably going to need to break at least one tackle. It's not purely an elusive play. We talked about, we saw Isaiah Bolden get some looks doing that. I think we saw Kayshon Boutte get a couple looks doing that.
Didn't Javon Baker get a couple returns in that Buffalo game?
But we don't know if he's going to make the team. And I think he screwed one of them up, right?
Probably.
I'm trying to remember who even returned kicks for them last year. They've had Kyle Duggar do it at times.
Yeah. Travion Henderson.
Kicks? He got some looks in the spring.
He feels like a guy that could be a returner.
And I think this matters because they changed the rule. They changed the touchback rule. So there's now going to be more kickoff returns, touchbacks. So you don't want a touchback anymore with them moving that up. So it's going to be kind of important who wins it. Marcus Jones. Oh, no, that's punt returns. Kick returns. Jermichael Hasty had 10.
Jesus.
How forgettable this was. He's no longer here. Antonio Gibson had 9. He's still here. He's in the mix. Alex Erickson returned 4 kickoffs for the Patriots last year.
Didn't you say earlier you think Isaiah Bolden could be in the mix for that, or should be in the mix for that?
Yeah. He didn't have any last year, though. Baker had 3.
Well, just for this year.
Yeah, for this year. It feels wide open, but it's going to be important because there's going to be more kick returns this year than there were last year. So maybe it's still Gibson.
Even Efton Chisholm feels like a guy that's shifty enough.
I don't think he has the straight line speed.
Not the straight line.
No,
okay.
He's more a punt returner than a kick returner.
Well, okay. I'm confused whether we're talking about kicks or punts at this point.
Punt returner, but probably going to be Marcus Jones, maybe Demario Douglas. Kick returner is the one that's more. We'll keep it a kick returner. Give me your thoughts on kick returner.
Man, I feel like Travion Henderson is the guy that has the explosion and the straight line speed.
He has the best profile, but again, it's that thing where Josh McDaniels in the past has kind of protected certain players.
Yeah. What about Kyle Williams?
That's an interesting one. I don't know if he has any experience with that. He has the makeup. They should give us. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle it because there are going to be more of them now. So maybe does McDaniels pull back from limiting players as much?
So if he wants a veteran in that spot, I feel like I'm going with our lads here. We got the our lads depth chart here. Antonio Gibson.
Well, Gibson did it a good amount last year, so that's not a bad bet.
Yeah,
but I want to see Isaiah Bolden get some reps too.
Yeah, so that's going to be one of we do a list of camp battles to watch. That's definitely on the list. Kick returner. Yeah,
I don't know how much they'll do. They usually don't show us a ton of the kickoff stuff. Usually that's the stuff they drill like those 2 weeks between the end of camp and the first game when the media is no longer out there for all of practice.
Mm-hmm.
So, preseason. We'll see who's back there in the preseason.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see who's actually getting the reps. Like, that's going to be the only thing we really see early on. But it's going to be worth noting, just noting down the numbers. We just named 9 players that could be in the mix, and there's probably going to be 3 or 4. So that's going to be something to watch.
So there you go. This is our last off-season sort of coverage here on the Patriots Hub Podcast.
Football season, Barth.
Again, if you missed the offense preview, that's up. Sports Hub YouTube channel, Patriots Hub Podcast, wherever you get yours. And for camp, this is the loose plan right now. So just kind of what you can expect, and we may tinker as we go. If you remember last year, Zoe and I did kind of instant reactions after camp. I believe the plan is to have those continue. There may be some other short form video stuff for me as well.
We had a rotating cast with those things.
Yeah,
I did a couple of those. I did one with Beetle.
You did one with Beetle. I did one with Evan Lazar, but I think me and Zoe banged out a good amount of them. And there's no weekend practices this year. There's only 2 on the schedule right now, so that helps.
It just depends on what Moscatel does.
Right. So we'll have those, and those will be posted on the Sports Hub YouTube channel. Those will count as the Patriots Hub podcast. And then Matt and I on the off days will kind of do a bigger picture. Hey, here's where we're at. Like, we'll kind of look at the full block of practices. That will also include, game previews, game recaps, things like that. So we won't be doing right now, and this may change. We won't be doing like the full 30-minute every day, but you'll get something from us every day, and then you'll get bigger breakdowns on the off day. So that's plan right now to make sure you have all of that. Subscribe on the Sports Hub YouTube page. Subscribe to the Patriots Hub podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, we'll have a ton of written content. We got preview stuff starting later this week into next week on 98.5thesportshub.com. So you can check it out there as well. For Matt Dolloff, I'm Alex Barth. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you come training camp.